Hi everybody and welcome back to our YouTube channel where today we're talking about gray hair. So hair turning gray is often said to be genetic, but it's not always the case, and that is what we're going to talk about today, the nutrition factors that could cause hair to turn gray quicker. And so hair naturally turns gray, and we're going to talk about what that process looks like. But for Caucasians, it tends to happen in the 30s, Asians in the late 30s, African Americans in the early 40s. So premature graying would be for Caucasians in the early 20s, Asians in the later 20s, and African Americans in the early 30s. So it's about a decade before we would expect that natural process to start happening. So first thing to do would be to think, oh, is my family, are my older family members gray, and did they start graying early? Because if that's the case, it could be genetic for you. But if that's not the case and you're starting to gray in that premature time frame that I just mentioned, you're going to definitely want to listen to this video as I'm going to share some reasons why this might be happening. Now, how and why does hair turn gray in the first place? Well, each hair has a hair follicle, which is basically under the skin on your scalp, and in this follicle are these melanocyte stem cells. So whenever a new hair grows, it'll grow from partially those stem cells, and those create the melanocytes, these cells that have melanin in them, and that's what gives hair its color. So naturally, as we get older, less of those stem cells are in the hair follicle, and thus hair, as it grows, it starts to grow with this gray appearance to it due to that. So another thing to think about is if your hair starts to turn gray pretty quickly in the matter of like a few months, 1 to 3 years, that could also be a sign that there's something more going on than just that natural aging process and hair is turning gray from the change in those stem cells. And so that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm Ashley Oswald, registered dietitian and founder of Oswald Digestive Clinic, where we help people improve and eliminate bothersome gut issues like gas, bloat, diarrhea, and or constipation. You can work with us one of two ways. You can schedule a free gut health call below if you want to work with our clinic one-on-one, and we do accept insurance, or you can join us in our Heal Your Gut course, which the link for that is also below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in and talk about some of these nutrition factors that can contribute to the quick and early graying of hair. So we're going to start by talking about stress, because you've all probably heard about how stress can cause hair to grow quicker, but you probably don't know why. And there's different kinds of stress. There's emotional stress, and then there's that physical stress, which is like free radicals in the body. And that's where nutrition can significantly impact. And we're going to talk about that second. But first, let's talk about emotional stress and what we know there. A cellular biologist from Harvard did some studies on mice, and he found that when he put mice under a stressful environment, that within just a few days, they had depleted all of their melanocyte stem cells. So again, those are those stem cells under the hair follicle, so like under the skin where the hair comes out of. So when you lose a hair, a new hair is regrown, and from stress, all those stem cells that would produce that melanin in the hair, that color in the hair, were depleted. So then the new hair growing doesn't have those melanocytes to cause the color, and thus it comes out gray. And they were really surprised that it only took a few days. And again, like granted, mice have a much shorter lifespan, right? So for the human, it might be a matter of like a year or two of chronic stress, but that's still really pretty quickly, which is why I mentioned in the intro that if you're graying really quickly, you want to look into and think about these factors. They also found that when noradrenaline, which is this neurotransmitter that's responsible for this kind of raise in blood pressure that comes about when you're in a really stressful situation. So it's that sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system state. And if you're in the sympathetic, which is that fight or flight, that kind of like activation when you're really stressed, your body releases this hormone that causes like blood pressure to raise and all these, symptoms that your body is trying to help you out. But when you're chronically stressed, it's not helping, it's just harmful to your body. And so this noradrenaline is being released. And what the researchers did is they put some of this under the skin in the mice, and they found that that also caused these mice to have premature graying pretty quickly. And for the same reason, because these sympathetic nerves are affecting those hair follicles and those melanocyte stem cells, depleting them, thus the hair grows in gray. So it's really important to consider your chronic stress state if you're in this sort of a state, and this could be key to helping to prevent further graying for you. So I briefly mentioned hydrogen peroxide. Not only can emotional stress increase hydrogen peroxide production in the body, which this then also can damage the melanin production in those hair follicles. So emotional stress can increase hydrogen peroxide in the body, but also the foods you eat. So if you or somebody you know is eating a standard American sort of diet, a lot of kind of whole, real foods, not a lot of produce, not a lot of like quality proteins. If they're mostly eating these processed foods, really rich in sugars and processed grains and carbs, and they're graying pretty quickly, it could be because that's causing too much hydrogen peroxide production in their body, causing the production of those melanocytes and the melanin to basically go to none. So then when their hair regrows, it regrows gray. So then also hydrogen peroxide, an increase in production could be because of an infection. So it could be a bacterial infection, a viral infection, mold issues, parasite issues. The body produces more of it to try to fight off that infection, which certainly then affects those melanocyte cells. But what can you do about it? So there's something called catalase and there's something called glutathione that can help to buffer, to decrease, to neutralize that hydrogen peroxide in the body. And what's really cool about this is that catalase and glutathione, nutrition can increase these two things. And so basically, if you're having increased hydrogen peroxide production, you could focus on eating these foods that I'm going to share with you next to try to decrease and neutralize that hydrogen peroxide, which then could in a turnabout way help to protect those melanocyte stem cells so that you don't keep going graying. As far as whether it's going to reverse the graying, it might not reverse it, because once you run out of stem cells, melanocyte stem cells, you're out. Kind of the damage is permanent, but it could prevent further graying. So what catalase does is it's an enzyme that helps to break down that hydrogen peroxide, that H2O2, down to just hydrogen and oxygen, so it's no longer causing, or it no longer has the ability to cause oxidative damage in the body, if you've ever heard that word. So you might have heard the word antioxidants, and these foods with antioxidants do exactly that. They help to prevent oxidative damage from free radicals. So foods that can help to increase catalase include green apples, include cinnamon, cocoa, garlic. Some of them contain this component called anthocyanins, which is the component that helps to increase the catalase. And then glutathione is this mother antioxidant in the body, is what it's notable for. And basically it also helps to break down or kind of prevent damage from hydrogen peroxide. And glutathione is made from 3 amino acids, And amino acids are basically protein broken all the way down into its smallest form. And the amino acids that make up glutathione are non-essential. So it means that your body can create them, especially if you're eating adequate protein. But if your body has a higher demand for them, then you might need to eat an extra amount from like food sources or maybe supplementation to help boost the glutathione production. So it's glycine, cysteine, and glutamine help to make glutathione. And I will add that your body needs cofactors as well to make glutathione and to make catalase, and these are minerals. So if you have nutrient deficiencies, which we've talked in other videos about, which can certainly stem from gut issues, you might have low stores of these minerals that are also needed to produce these really important compounds that help to break down that hydrogen peroxide. And further, speaking of gut issues then, if your gut isn't healthy, like if you're not making enough stomach acid, if you have something going on in your small intestine where you're not absorbing properly, it might also be that you're not breaking down proteins properly into amino acids, so your body might not be getting those building blocks to make that glutathione, that mother antioxidant, to help become and decrease the oxidation that could be causing the hair to turn gray. So all really important considerations. So glutathione is not something that's well absorbed from the oral route, from the gut. So you can't just really effectively supplement with glutathione. There's a supplement on the market called N-acetylcysteine, and this is what can be used to help create that glutathione. Because as mentioned, it's the glycine, the cysteine, the glutamine that those amino acids create the glutathione. But if you're low on a cofactor in one of these minerals, NAC, kind of the quick acronym for N-acetylcysteine, isn't going to be as effective for you. So really, like with nutrition, it really has to be N=1 study. Like everybody's slightly different, even if the kind of appearance symptoms are the same. You could supplement with a liposomal glutathione, but I would just check with your main healthcare provider on that one. It's going to be better absorbed through the gut because it's liposomal. And then also you can increase certain foods that help to increase and produce cysteine, so that N-acetylcysteine supplement that I mentioned is really popular for increasing glutathione. Some of the foods that can help to produce that would be eggs and onions and garlic and cruciferous veggies like Brussels sprouts and broccoli. So the next nutrient that could be important is selenium, that we have research on showing that it could also help to prevent hair graying. So interestingly, selenium might be a reason that we see increased prevalence of hair graying in individuals who have thyroid disease, because we need selenium to convert the thyroid hormone T4 to the active T3 to improve thyroid functioning. And if there's a deficiency of that, the thyroid's not going to work as well. And then also if there's a deficiency of selenium, it could mean increased hydrogen peroxide in the body, which again, that's what could contribute to the graying hair. And our soils in the United States are becoming more depleted of selenium, so it's more common that we're starting to see people with low levels of this mineral. And especially notable is we just are kind of coming out of this really ketogenic diet trend. And the ketogenic diet puts somebody at risk of getting a selenium deficiency. And there's actually a case report of an individual dying of selenium deficiency from being on the ketogenic diet. Again, why it's really important when you're significantly modifying your foods in that sort of way to be working with a functional nutrition dietitian. And so selenium is another mineral that could be important to prevent graying. The next one is going to be vitamin B12 that has research to support it as well. So we have a case report of an individual who, upon replacing their low vitamin B12 level, the gray hair stopped occurring. And then this next one is vitamin B5. Vitamin B5 sometimes gets the nickname of anti-stress. So vitamin B5 is sometimes considered the anti-stress vitamin or the anti-gray hair vitamin because in a mouse study, when rats were fed a diet deficient in vitamin B12, they did develop gray hair. And so if you are low in this vitamin, it could be why you're having gray hair. And by replacing that low level, it's not going to reverse your gray hair because, again, once you're out of those stem cells, you're out, but it can prevent it from further graying. So then some last nutrient considerations would be copper. Copper can help to create this enzyme that produces melanin. So too low of copper could be contributing to gray hair. And it's notable that if you're on a zinc supplement and you've been on it long term and you're not balancing it out with copper, you have a high risk of developing a copper deficiency because zinc and copper go hand in hand. So there's a certain ratio you should be taking to make sure that by over supplementing zinc, you're not depleting your copper stores. And then also possibly vitamin C, vitamin E, and zinc, but less notable from the research. Next, there are some additional disease states that could be contributing. So celiac disease, there's a couple case reports of individuals who after diagnosis with celiac disease, they cut out gluten, of course, their hair started to regain its color and the gray started to go away. So that's interesting, right? Showing that there certainly can be this gut kind of hair connection, and maybe it is in a roundabout related to some of those nutrients, because if somebody has celiac disease or some other gut issues, as mentioned, they're likely not absorbing foods properly and they're at a high risk of malabsorption, contributing to some of these issues that we just discussed. And then lastly, it could be medication side effects. So chemotherapy or some of the medications used for different inflammatory disease states could also contribute to this graying of the hair, which might be for reasons that we've already talked about. So considering all that information, I want to leave you with 4 takeaways that you can do to help prevent you from having premature graying. So number 1 would be to eat a real whole foods eating plan. If you're in our Heal Your Gut course, we talk about it in depth as kind of a starting foundation to everything. And then if you're having gut issues, connecting with our clinic or another functional nutrition clinic to help you out so that we can make sure you're not absorbing those whole real foods that you're eating. The next thing would be to consider if you're experiencing chronic stress. And sometimes people are under chronic stress, but they're not realizing it. And then trying to create a plan to pull yourself out of that chronic stress state. The third thing is you could consider starting a comprehensive multivitamin with minerals to help cover the basis of some of those nutrients that we talked about. I know it can be confusing at the store to find a quality supplement, and honestly, there's a lot of kind of junk out on the shelves. So I will link one below that you could ask your main healthcare provider about. And then also there is a fruits and greens powder on the market. So it's basically fruits and greens, so veggies and fruits powdered down to really help give your body an antioxidant boost, which we mentioned the concerns of oxidation, right, for graying hair. So another thing that you can consider just trying for like a month or 2 and seeing how that might help you. I'll also link that below. With all supplements, I can't possibly know what's going on with your current medical situation. So always check with your main healthcare provider before starting anything new. And so I hope this video is really interesting and helpful and educational for you. If you haven't already, subscribe below, hit the bell next to the subscribe button where you'll get notified of our new videos every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on next week's video.